250 head teachers of both primary and secondary schools have written to the Education Secretary asking for a ban on smartphones in schools all the way up to year 11, that's age 16. The campaigning group Generation Focus says the current system of leaving those decisions on what to do about phones up to individual schools puts too much pressure on teachers. Leanne Simmons is head teacher of Ringwood School in Hampshire, one of the signatories on the letter. Good morning.
Good morning, Anna.
And at the moment, I mean, we know the way things are. Schools make their own decisions. Some say don't bring phones. In some, you put them in little pouches. So what you want actually is the government to tell you what to do and then you implement it.
I think what we have at the moment is a large number of head teachers across the country who are growing increasingly concerned about smartphone use amongst young people. The age of getting a smartphone is younger and younger, and the harms are multifaceted. And so at the moment, if you are a head teacher that's worried, you're finding yourself talking to your community, to your stakeholders, to governors, to parents, to your fellow head teachers in your local area, trying to come up with some strategy where you can try and safeguard the children you're responsible for as well as possible. But all of that is hugely inefficient, and in different pockets around the country, we're coming up with different solutions. What would be much easier is a one clear solution from the government that would help everybody work together to implement something to keep our children safe.
It's a noble suggestion, and I think many parents would agree with you, but there are some issues when it comes to the implementation. For example, I know that you're advocating because when children travel to school, parents like to be able to contact them, brick phones instead that they can text from. But one of the good things about smartphones is that you can see where your child is without them necessarily having to make the effort to contact you. And I know for a lot of parents that is a reassurance.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, at my school, we have banned smartphones for year 7 this year for the first time. And some children already have smartphones because they got them during primary school. And those parents are definitely finding it less convenient that they can track their child going to and from school, even if they've provided them with a brick phone. Exactly as you say, the technology is slightly different. But I think on balance, looking at the harms that are there with smartphones, there are ways that you can track your child. You know, the parents at my school are using other types of tracking devices, or they're just deciding that they text their child and they're making different arrangements in the way that we always used to before the ability to track our children was there. So there are certainly ways around it, but it would be much easier if we were having a national conversation and we were able to come up with these strategies together.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, there's a whole different conversation to be had about whether or not we're far too attached to tracking our children nowadays, whether or not we should be doing that.
Sure.
That's a full separate conversation of its own. There's another thing on screen time, which I find as well, which is so much homework now is set online. Certainly the school that my children go to, more than 90% of it is online. So at that point in the day when you're trying to take your child off their phone or whatever it may be, they say, oh, but I've got homework to do. I've got maths, I've got science. And then it's a reason for them to keep it even longer. Is there an argument to go back to, if you are trying to cut smartphone use and get them off the devices, to go back to homework the old-fashioned way?
Anna, you're absolutely right. And I think all schools, particularly since COVID, when everything had to be remote for that period of time, have developed techniques to set homework. We use Teams, other schools will use Google Classrooms. And that is a really convenient way of being able to give children any of the resources they need and really help them to do homework in a way that we weren't able to before. But of course, the disadvantage of that is that then that increases children's screen time. And again, the reason that it would be so good to be having a national conversation is that as schools, we need to decide. We've kind of moved down the route of using technology to really help us with educating children, particularly for things like home learning. But what we now need to do is to work out how we keep the best of those things, but how we make sure that we are also helping to reduce screen time for young people, particularly out of school as well as in school.
Yeah, Leanne Simmons, head teacher at Ringwood School in Hampshire. Thank you.